Hey, Professor Estrada. My name is Angela Ponte. I am in your engineering ethics class, and this is video essay number 1 for lesson 1. I am abiding by the NJIT Honor Code. This is my original work. Any citations that I will use in this video, I will mention it down below in the discussion area, where I will also put my video. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so the topic in question for this video: how do engineering projects reflect the values, assumptions, and interests of their designers and of the broader society? Okay. Alright, so here we go. Many times what engineers produce or design is highly influenced by their own political, religious, or social beliefs. Values can be transcended into their work, and as a result, society is affected by this engineer's own values and beliefs. In the article by Langdon Winner, he says the issue is the claim that machine structures and systems of modern material culture can be judged not only for their contributions to efficiency and productivity, but also in the ways that they can embody specific forms of power through authority. One good example that I got from Langdon Winner was that bridges over the Parkway in Long Island, New York, were built having a low clearance of as little as 9 feet. Why is this? It turns out Robert Moses, master builder of roads, bridges in the 1920s and the 1970s, built them this way to discourage the presence of buses going through the Parkway. And according to Robert A. Caro, Moses' reason for doing this reflects his social class bias as well as his racial prejudice. The upper and middle class were the ones who owned the automobiles, so they could get through no problem. The poor people, or also the blacks, used the public transportation in the 1920s. And this is a good example of engineers reflecting their power and their social bias and racial prejudice through their work. Relating to the issue of social class, race, the Parable of Polygons by V. Hart and Nicky Case is a very good example, showing how racial segregation arises even among people who don't have strong social bias. So I went on the interactive website. This website lets you move unhappy shapes to certain locations to make them happy. I learned from playing this simulation that people are happy if 1/3 of their neighbors is like them. And like them meaning either the same race or the same social class. And people are unhappy if less than 1/3 of their neighbors are like them. If all of their neighbors are like them, then they're okay. They're in the meh category. Small bias can eventually grow and lead to large collective bias. So to reiterate, it's pretty common nowadays that engineers may design something specifically for a target market. Going back to the example that Langdon Winner said in his article, a good example to relate that to today's society is the Rolls-Royce, for example. Not everyone can afford a Rolls-Royce. It is targeted for the upper class. It is a luxury car. It is built by hand and priced anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000. And according to caranddriver.com, the Phantom Rolls-Royce is the epitome of British motoring, embodying all that has made the marque a legend. Now, this type of engineering is targeted for obviously an upper class market. The lower class wouldn't be able to buy this. However, Weiner, a mathematician, also an existentialist, believed in quite the opposite. He believed in the struggle. The value of life is to go with nature. And he says that it's a tragedy that, in his own words, he says that we have a main obligation to establish arbitrary enclaves of order in system, but nature is chaos and disorder. I think what this means is that he believes it's tragic that we build against nature, and he expresses his dismay when seeing humans building and exploiting nature for their own benefit. And it's very common nowadays. It's very common. Going back to Langdon, the way that Robert Moses built his parkways just shows that his bias and racial prejudice came through and affected the way that the community sort of worked, not allowing or discouraging certain people from coming into that community while others can freely go by as they please. Going back to the example with the Rolls-Royce, only appealing to certain target markets and the upper class. I think, in conclusion, engineers need to step back and make sure whatever they're reflecting in their work, whatever they're producing, doesn't negatively impact the community or target market that they're trying to reach. Their own social bias, their own racial prejudice, economic values, or religious beliefs shouldn't be transcended into their product, because it could impact the community in a negative way. The way that Robert Moses did design his Long Island bridges did leave behind a negative ideology of racial bias and social class prejudice. In this day and age, we should try to avoid any of that coming through in our work. As an engineer, I believe it's really important to have a positive values transcend our work. As engineers, we have a lot of power, and we need to watch what values and what beliefs transcend our work. Thank you very much.